Essex needed, and that could be the winning hit. It is. It's 6 for Lewis Gregory, and Somerset have won by 6 wickets. Tremendous win for Somerset, chasing down 194 to win, with Will Smead leading the way.
Hello there, this is Always Look on the Bright Side of Life, the Somerset Cricket Podcast. My name's Ian Shepherd. Joining me this evening for our 5th happiest episode ever. I'll leave you to work out what the other 4 were. I've got Somerset's Head of Marketing and Digital and anything else that needs doing, Ben Warren. Ben, how you going, mate?
Yeah, good, thanks. Yeah.
Didn't make it to Chelmsford, I gather you're running a very exciting and well-watched live stream, which we'll discuss later on Saturday.
Yes, yeah, definitely. I was still at Taunton, but yeah, delighted with the result in both games.
Yes. 2 fantastic performances from both the men's and women's captains in 2 Somerset victories over the weekend. Also with me is Dan Kingdom. Dan, you were at Chelmsford over the weekend, I gather, is that right?
I was, yeah, Saturday and Sunday. I wouldn't have been there Monday, so I was glad that we got the win done in 3 days.
Good stuff. Well, as you pointed out, was it all of our away wins have come in 3 days in the last 2 years?
Last
however many.
Yeah, last 5 years. All 5 of our away wins since 2022 have come in 3 days, which is quite remarkable.
And I can't believe we don't charge for this podcast with little nuggets of information like that. And completing our happy quartet tonight is the voice of cricket on BBC Radio Somerset, Anthony Gibson. Gibbo, 2 days in the company of a rather magnanimous and gracious Don Topley, I gather. He wasn't there for victory on the Sunday, which was rather disappointing, but I would imagine the most enjoyable trip to Chelmsford since... I don't know, 2007 or whenever it was.
I wasn't there in 2007, but yeah, I enjoy working with Toppers. He's good fun, and he did actually mention Somerset and 1 or 2 Somerset players once or twice. He wasn't quite so one-eyed.
Yeah, I particularly enjoyed Thomas Roux making his debut and Jamie Overton scoring 140. That was
Jamie Overton was bowling virtually every over.
Yeah, that was enjoyable. And I was also glad to hear, we're not going to talk about cricket for at least another quarter of an hour, so go and make a cup of tea. The Essex have their own Dragon versus Wyvern. Well, it's not a debate.
Well, I think it's probably only in the mind of Don Topley, who thinks that the Essex symbol is a scimitar, which is, of course, an Arab weapon, nothing to do with Essex at all, whereas it is, in fact, a sea axe, which is a corruption of the word Saxon, because they're Saxons, just like the Middlesex people are Saxons, and their emblem, their coat of arms is sea axes as well.
There we go. Right, we can't put it off any longer. So we talk about one of the most incredible games of cricket. Well, so let's start with the most bonkers first day of cricket that I think I've ever recorded. Looking forward to seeing Alfie Ogborn carry on his vein of form, and was kind of thrust into a mix of disappointment and anger at 10:30 when it was announced that he wasn't playing. Josh Shaw came in. Presume Alfie was rested. Did we ever get confirmation of that? He was rested.
He told me it was tactical, whatever that means.
Tactical?
Yeah.
Ah. Fair enough. Well, I mean, all's well that...
He didn't seem at all upset about it. Well, he wouldn't show it, but you know, he was his usual cheerful, charming self.
He's an ebullient lad, is Alfie Ogborn. Were you saying it being tactical? I can only think they didn't want him whacking his big size 13s in the pitch and creating a bit of rough for Simon Harmer.
It could be.
Good point.
Potentially is the only thing, but you know. I've chilled. I've mellowed. I've been on holiday for 4 or 5 days now. I've come to terms with the decision. Obviously, they know Alfie's body better than we do. Jamie Thorpe and his team. They will know that if he needs a rest, then he needs a rest. So, just very disappointed not to see him come on and play a second game in a row after he really caught the eye of not just Somerset but kind of the media as well. There was a lot of chat on him on various different sort of review podcasts about how well he bowled against Notts couple of weeks or so ago. I mean, Dan, were you there Friday as well?
No, just Saturday, Sunday.
No, just Saturday and Sunday. I mean, where do we start? So TKC buses and taking catch to dismiss, who was it?
Mulder.
Well, it doesn't matter who it was. Mulder.
It did matter. It was Vian Mulder, who's one of their best players, and it was a good catch as well.
It was a very good catch because it looked like it was travelling.
It was.
What do we make of the decision then not to go, I know what we'll do. TKC's our opening bat. Archie Vaughan has opened the batting for us before. Archie Vaughan is sat next to me in the dressing room. Will Smead's about 200 miles away in Abergavenny. Admittedly, having just scored 200 and an unbeaten 200 and 100, but against the students of Cardiff University in Abergavenny. I mean, Dan, it was slightly crazy and outside the box thinking from the powers that be. What do you think their reasoning was?
Yeah, I mean, as Kurt said, he's in form in the run, so we thought, okay, here's a guy who's high on confidence. Let's get him in. And I think part of the reasoning was also probably that Smead is a very aggressive player, like TKC, and we felt without we don't have Banton either, so we felt we maybe wanted to replace that aggression in the lineup. But it did certainly raise sort of questions, I saw like the Cricketer article about the day, sort of slightly questioning like, is this in the spirit of the rules, etc. I don't think anyone is saying we've broken the rules at all. Like we clearly haven't. But I think it is going to be part of the argument going forward around these injury subs. It might be that in the future you have to name a squad of players, and you can only name like 4 subs before the game, and you have to pick from those 4. So there are interesting elements to it, but I thought it was in some ways it was questionable making him travel after playing 2 days. He might have been tired, but it kind of worked. I mean, he scored a good 30, looked pretty comfortable once he got off the mark. Hadn't also got dropped while he was on naught as well. But yeah, he batted well with Craig for a while there.
He did. Ben, we've finally seen Will Smead's first-class debut. It's been a long time coming and in quite unfathomable circumstances. I mean, this is going to be a great quiz question in a few years' time.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a great stat, and it was one of the only stats that that really interested me about that most T20 matches played before first-class debut. Stats that someone came out with on social media that Will Smead's the second longest gap between a T20 debut and a first class debut. Chris Green. He played 164 matches before making his first class debut. Will Smead 136 T20 matches before making a first class debut. So yeah, it was a really interesting kind of period, wasn't it, really? I mean, I guess it was a little bit of a risk as well in terms of the, Richard Walsh has done a nice piece with Will on the website, and he sort of said he got stuck in traffic and it took him a long time. He only arrived at 6 o'clock. And
I mean, that's the other risk as well, that instead of going for Vaughan is, like you say, we could have quite easily been bowled out. If you bowl a side out for 149, it's not exactly going to be a road that you're playing on, and to ask a guy to make I think it's a 3.5-4 hour car journey, go around the M25 as well. They must have had a lot of faith that they were making the right call.
Yeah, I mean, even if, a lot of talk about if Somerset had been bowled out, and then Will would have only had 1 innings in theory. But equally, if Somerset had been sort of even like 7 or 8 down, it was no real environment to bring someone in for their first knock if he had to sort of bat with a tail. I mean, I know he's a pretty aggressive player, but as it worked out fabulously, really, he provided great foil for Craig, and Craig was, as captain, I think, able to sort of talk him through a lot of his innings and how he went about it. But it worked out a treat in the end. But yeah, certainly a little bit of a punt, I think.
You've been a champion of Will Smead for a long time, Gibber. Were you surprised at the decision?
I was I wasn't that surprised, because he has been in very good form, not just for the seconds but pre-season as well. And it was more of a like for like than Archie Vaughan, you know. Admittedly, I mean, the irony is that Will Smead, I think he was very, very nervous when he went out to bat, and it took him a long time to get off the mark, and he was anything but aggressive. Whereas Archie Vaughan in the second innings walked out there and started stroking it to all.
I know.
It was the easiest thing in the world. It was fantastic from Archie Vaughan. But yeah, it was high risk. But you know, for someone who's been championing Will Smead for years now, saying he ought to get his chance in first class cricket to see what he can. I was very, very pleased. I was sorry, you know, sorry for Archie, but I bumped into Archie, and again, he seemed perfectly okay with the decision, and that was actually just after he'd been told he would probably be subbing for Lewis Goldsworthy the following day. No, it was high risk, I agree, but it worked out well.
Did he get dropped? Did I was sort of saw Yeah,
he's missed at first slip by Dean Elgar. Straightforward chance in about, well, before he scored, and only about the second over he was facing.
It could have been a very different story, couldn't it? Really?
It could
have been. I mean, from what I saw, he seemed to be batting differently to how he sets up in T20 cricket, which I know it sounds like a fairly obvious thing to say, but in T20 cricket, he seems to, when he wants to play through the offside, he kind of gives himself a bit of a gap, and he really does leave a big gap between bat and pad, which I thought might be his undoing if he doesn't quite get that sorted in red ball cricket. But he looked very tight, he looked very organised.
He defended well.
It took him a long time to get off the mark, and I thought, is he going to, have a bit of red mist? But, I mean, Will Smead, he's a very, very intelligent lad, and I think, I think it sounds weird to say because he's such a destructive T20 opener, but I think in there he has actually probably got the temperament to bat for a long time. I think not a lot phases him. He seems very confident, very laid back.
He's got a lot of presence at the crease as well.
Yeah, I mean,
he looks like a batsman to be reckoned with.
Well, I mean, the last thing you want to be as a bowler is knowing that if you stray, you are going to get punished. Yeah. If you got Billy Blocker down the other end who just, or just pats it back, great. You can settle in and just bang a length all day. But if you've got it in the back of your head that, if I get this a little bit wrong, I'm going the distance, and it makes a massive difference as a bowler. So, I mean, where does he kind of fit in next week? We'll come on to that later. We've still got millions to talk about. I had an email actually. I don't get a lot of emails. This one is from Richard Harmon, who has emailed me saying, "Hi all, when Will Smead finally made his red ball debut against Essex, I remember that he has a younger brother who used to play for the Seconds, a la the Roos. I've looked Henry up and found he's now based in Heidelberg and plays rugby sevens for the German national side, known as the Wolfpack." Now, it was about this point that I thought I was getting a TMS-style wind-up, a bit like when we told Gibbo in that last boring day at Lancashire that George Bell was the under-14s Lancashire high jump champion, despite him only being about 4'3". But no, but apparently he qualifies via his German grandmother Uta as a Buckinghamshire-born Somerset supporter who's lived in the German-speaking part of northern Italy. I quite like this minor side note and hope you find it of interest too. Love the podcast. Keep up the good work. And that's from Richard Harmon. I had a bit of a look into this as well. Will Smead's grandma is German. She started a pen pal to his grandfather, Peter Smead, and emigrated. But Will Smead's great-grandfather was in the Luftwaffe, and he was put into an internment camp because he refused to join the Nazi Party. Solidarity, well done to Will Smead's great-grandfather there. But if you Google that, there is a good story on BBC about all this, and it's one of those sort of fascinating things that you kind of find out about cricketers and people that make sort of sit up and make you think. But
Henry was on the academy at Somerset a few years ago. I think if I remember rightly, he got injured playing rugby, which took him out of cricket for a while. And then I think that sort of, I guess at probably that age, he might have had to make a decision whether to go to cricket or rugby, and it sounds like he chose rugby.
Yeah. And also now we have the situation where we could potentially have Will Smead and Tom Kohler-Cadmore opening the batting for the German national side.
Yeah, I mean, the regulations are relatively loose these days with players playing for other countries that you wouldn't necessarily associate them with. So, yeah, in 10 years' time, maybe.
Some European Champions Cricket League thing, aren't they? I mean, it's like a Six Nations thing.
There's been talk of that happening, but the ECB are not getting involved, are they?
Well, doesn't matter if we've got Will Smead and Tom Kohler-Cadmore playing for Germany.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, moving on then. Right. What else we got? Shall we talk about Craig Overton? Because, I mean, Christ, what a start of the season he's had. Runs, wickets. I didn't feel like until that second innings of Essex's that he was kind of up to full speed. I felt like the Notts game, I felt like he's just a locomotive, just kind of leaving the station and chugging away, getting himself up to speed. Not necessarily bowling badly, but just not quite there. And then I thought, yeah, he's back now. Craigo's he's had his warm up. He's in the groove now. And 50 on his birthday, converted it to a career best, 140 the day after. I mean, what can you say?
Yeah, I think he's worked very hard on his batting. I guess, you know, I hope he won't mind if I say it, but he's obviously getting on a little bit in his career. So I guess, you know, from his point of view, the batting side will give him more
He's
longevity.
only 32, for goodness sake. He should be in his prime as a fast bowler.
He's obviously got a lot of wickets.
Mitchell Stark or Jimmy Anderson.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'd love it if Craig Overton was still bowling at 43, but I think that it gives him that longevity that, you know, he can, because he has lost. I do think that he has probably just lost a little yard of pace. You know, I don't think that, you know, I think that that's not unkind. So I think that, you know, it's great that he's got that in his locker and he's worked really hard on his batting, and he certainly. It'd be really interesting when Lewis comes back into the team whether he'll continue at 7 or drop back down to 8. Because
I've got Craig at 7 in my team, ahead of Lewis. I mean, it was a chanceless innings, and what impressed me most was his defence and the way he plays so straight with such a broad bat. And as he said when I talked to him about it, he's got over this business of sort of falling over too much to the right hand side. As a tall batsman, that's always a risk, and he's made a conscious effort to avoid that. And the result is he is playing really, really straight. And Don Topley was hugely impressed with the way he batted as an impartial observer. And yeah, he's not been at his quickest. I mean, Ben's conservative speed gun was timing him at around 74, 75 miles an hour, which is probably 3 or 4 miles an hour less than he was actually bowling. But even so, you know, a couple of seasons ago, he'd be up in the mid-80s, something like that. But pace isn't everything. And he bowled beautifully. And he got the 2 crucial wickets on the last morning when he got Paul Walter and Matt Critchley. At a time when Walter and Critchley, I mean, they put on nearly 100 together. They were looking as if they were getting Essex back into contention. Up steps Craig, gets both the wickets. Brilliant. And then he took a catch to get Pepper as well. You know, I think it was just a fantastic, immense all-round performance. And I do think captaincy brings out the best in him. And when Lewis Gregory can't carry on because of injuries and what have you, then Craig is the obvious one to step up, and he would make a superb full-time permanent captain.
Yeah, I think Craig speaks very well as well. I just on the members' day there was him and Abe's were just doing a bit of slip catching, and he just gave like a brief sort of summary of what they were doing. But it was just kind of the way that he spoke and the way that he kind of told you what they were doing in sort of very clear, very concise language, and got the point over kind of straight away, that I just thought, yeah, he has got a very, very good cricket brain, and I do think he would make a bloody good coach when he retires.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, I think that the way he almost led from the front in all three facets of that game was incredible. He probably go down as an innings that he'll never forget. I know it's the second first class 100, and I think if he continues to bat at 7, he's got the opportunity to score more, because he's definitely he looked really, really positive, but really in control of what he was doing. And I agree on that with the ball, to get Paul Walter out. That was a big wicket at that time, and he looked really, really threatening. Yeah, fantastic performance.
What impressed me as well, Dan, is the way that he kind of seized the initiative on the end of that first day. He took Harmer down. He got to 50 before close of play on the Friday. And then, if that was me, I'd have come out Saturday morning and gone, I've got a 50 off 30 balls or 40 balls, whatever it was. This is easy. And I'd have given it the big wahoo sort of first up, but he didn't. Recognise the situation in the match, recognise that big first innings run, big first innings lead is going to be crucial to winning this game. And he didn't really go into his shell, but he just sort of took his time. As Gibbo said earlier, he guided Will Smeed, he batted well with Lewis Goldsworth. It was just, I don't think you can ever have a faultless performance in county cricket, but it was pretty close to it, really. Yeah,
I think what you said about his batting, he's clearly taking a lot more responsibility these days with his batting. I'm not saying he didn't take responsibility in the past, but another innings that I was reminded of was actually home to Essex last year, when he was batting with James Rew in that match-winning partnership in the second innings. That was very similar, when he was completely focused on the task at hand, that he had a very clear task, and he was determined to prove that he is a proper batter. And it probably, it's surprising, really. He's only got 2 first-class centuries, and as Ben said, he could easily add more in the future. Even if he, ends up back at number 8, I would still back him to score more centuries. The speed that he can score at. So yeah, and being captain certainly helps. It was one of his. I mean, he only took 4 wickets in the whole game, but if you add up his batting, his bowling, his captaincy, and his fielding, it was one of his best ever games, probably. And it's just really good to see him, playing well all round. The last couple of years he's not been bad by any stretch of the imagination, but I think he took a 5 for last year, which was his first one in like a couple of years or something. He's just not been quite at the heights that he was at, sort of 21, 22, around when he last played for England. So if he can, get back towards that again and have I was about to say late career flourish, but I don't want to get told off. But he is certainly in the second half of his career. Let's be clear. And he is completely motivated to help Somerset win the county championship. And him, Gregory, Abel, those guys who they're all in the second half of their career. They know that time is slightly running out for them to win that title, and they know that they are good enough players to help us get to a title. And I know they all desperately want it. So there is certainly that motivation for them to keep playing red ball cricket and stay at the top of their game, even if their England days are probably all past them now. And obviously Tom Abel, you never know, maybe he'll get to England one day, but we'll see.
I mean, looking back at the winter that Craig's had as well, he had, was it hernia surgery he had? I think.
CSA 20, I think.
Yeah, so he didn't play any over the winter. He had a surgery, which I think was a sort of hernia, but I will happily stand corrected if I got that wrong. Obviously got married. Him and his wife are now expected as well, which is great news. So he's had a lot go on over the winter, and sometimes just a little few things like that happening just kind of puts cricket a little bit into perspective as how important it is compared to all the other stuff in your life, and sometimes that helps make you a better player. The fact that you suddenly realise that actually cricket isn't the be-all and end-all, even though we obviously know what it is. But do you know what I mean? It just helps you to relax a little bit and play a little bit better. And as you say, he's worked on all the aspects of his game over the winter. So not a surprise that he's kind of started the season with such a fantastic couple of performances. Just going back to you sort of talked about Craig being focused. I think one of the main differences I sort of saw between the Notts game and the Essex game is we kind of had a clear path to how to win the game from the moment that we won the toss. It was to stick them in on a green steamer, bowl them out cheaply, big run second innings, and then either try and win by an innings or, chase a small total. I never felt that it was really that clear during the Notts game, which may be due to the quality of the opposition, maybe due to the sort of nature of the surface as well.
There's a lot to do with the toss. We lost the toss against Notts. We won it against Essex.
Yeah.
And that was one of the best things that Craig Overton did in the 3 days, was to win the toss. Because if we'd lost the toss, it would have been a very different story, I suspect, against Porter and Cook on that pitch as it was in the first couple of hours.
And here's a quick stat as well. The last 4 times we've bowled first in the county championship, we've won. And that was 2 games against Essex. So home to Essex last year, and away to Essex that's just finished. And then in between that, away at Durham last year and home to Durham last year. They're the last 4 times we bowled first in the county championship, and we won them all. When we bat first, our last 7 games batting first, 6 draws and 1 loss. So
is this winning the toss and bowling first, or just bowling first?
This is just bowling first.
Just bowling first.
I mean, in those games, we chose to bowl in 3 of them. The opposition chose to bat in 1 of them.
The Warwickshire, did we bowl first in that one as well?
Which one, sorry?
Warwickshire at Taunton, where Abe's got big 100 on the last day. Did we bowl first at that one as well?
Yes, we did. Yeah, we won that, obviously. Yeah.
I think every team that wins the toss at Taunton from now on will put the opposition in. I just can't see anyone opting to bat first at Taunton, the way the pitch is.
Okay.
Last year at Taunton, 5 out of 7 bowled first, and obviously, and against Notts, they chose to bowl as well. So, yeah, it's becoming the trend, definitely.
I mean, at least this part of the season, a bit later on when they maybe start to break up a little bit in the 4th innings.
But they don't break up in the 4th innings. It's the whole point.
Yes, true.
If only they did. We might win a few games at Taunton.
Well, we might do. Yes, it is a hurdle that we do have to overcome. Should we talk about James Rew as well? I mean, 16 for 3, or whatever it was. He's in there with his shovel, the James Rew shovel, digging us out of another hole again.
Tom Abel batted well too, mine.
And Tom, yeah. Rew and Abel just seem to, they seem to kind of get out there. Here we go again. Dig the top order out of the mire. There was a piece in the Telegraph today, which I didn't read because I don't subscribe to the Telegraph, basically saying England have told Somerset to get James Rew to open. Now, I don't know.
You're completely wrong. It's in the Times.
No, it's Nick Holt in the Telegraph. I'm sure it was.
Yeah, it was mentioned in the Telegraph as well, definitely.
In the Times, what it said is that James Rew ought to be asking Somerset to let him bat first, because that's his opportunity for getting into the England side, which is something that we've been saying for, last year, not just this season. So it's not really...
But the Telegraph article... Sorry.
Go on.
The Telegraph article said the ECB have floated the idea with Somerset of James Rew opening.
Oh, okay. Well, so have we, to be fair.
Yeah.
Only we've been doing it for the last 4 years. But, yeah, I mean, yeah, we have talked about this at length before. I mean, I just think it's... I think you look at James Rew, looks like an opener, whether Somerset... want to keep him at 4 just to balance the side. I don't think you could be asking him to open and keep currently the way that the squad is. But if England want to pick him as an opener, I think looking at him, they know that he's got all the attributes to be able to succeed. So
I don't think he'll get picked unless he's unless he gets some runs opening for Somerset.
They picked Dan Lawrence, didn't they, for a few games as opener a few years ago, despite he doesn't open for his county. That was obviously only temporary. It was probably only ever going to be temporary. But Lawrence didn't do that well, did he? It was against Sri Lanka at the end of 2020, in the end of the 2024 summer.
Yeah, see, I think they picked him because he'd been kicking around with the squad most of the summer, and they didn't want to bring in a fresh face. I think they just thought, well, we think he's our 7th best batter or whatever, so he comes in now, and the spare spot is open in the batting. So go and have a go.
Seeing as Lawrence didn't do that well, that might have put them off picking a non-specialist opener, perhaps.
Yeah, potentially.
It'd be interesting if Jamie Smith was struggling for Surrey. Maybe then Rue would actually have a real chance of getting in as the wicketkeeper at number 6. But as Jamie Smith is scoring a lot of runs at the moment, and that's.
Well, I don't know if this stat is correct because you don't want to believe everything you read on Twitter. But it said Jamie Smith is averaging 99 this season, but the average per wicket in the games that he's played is 99.25. So he's not, relatively speaking, having that good a season.
He's scoring runs on flat ones, isn't he? Edgbaston last week and Global this week. They were both.
You're not going to drop Jamie Smith this side of Armageddon. He's one of the, after Pant, he's probably the best wicketkeeper batsman in the world. Well, I suppose Carey's up there now.
Well, I think
he's very, very good, Jamie Smith.
I don't think his glove work is where it needs to be. Carey in the Ashes was absolutely phenomenal.
Yes, he was good.
Standing up. Although if you listen to Jack Russell on the Stitcher Cricket one, he was bemoaning the fact that he wasn't really standing up because he was about a foot back, and I agree with Jack on that one. I mean, and also let's talk about the run chase as well. So if you'd have said to me that Archie Vaughan and Will Smeed are going to be your two, what are they called? They're not substitutes, they're replacements. And one of them was going to be 41 out of 25 balls, and the other one was going to be 5 off 25 balls. I think a lot of people would have lost their money. Archie Vaughan came out like an absolute greyhound out the traps, making short work of that. Not necessarily a tricky target. Let's be honest, if you're chasing 50, you've only really got to get the 20 for none, and then the opposition kind of give up. But just clean striking of a cricket ball, completely clear in what he wanted to do. I mean, I'm looking now at the batting order for the Utilita Bowl on Friday, and I've got Thomas opening, Lammonby at 3, Abel at 5, and then based on what we just talked about with James Rue and how the different ways that Smeed and Archie Vaughan played, I mean, they both kind of showed that they can play like the other. I mean, who goes where? And then obviously we got Lewis Gregory coming back in as well potentially. Do you know how fit Lewis is, Ben? I heard he was supposed to be playing for the twos and having a little bowl over the last couple of days, but that's not happened as far as I could see. Yeah,
he had a bowl at Taunton Vale, not in the fixture, I don't think.
Okay.
But as I spoke to Lewis today, and things are heading in the right direction for sure. So I think he's pretty confident of playing on Friday.
Good stuff. Speaking of Lewis, it is his testimonial season this year. The opening dinner is when is it? 24th of February. 24th of April. So that's next Friday. I'd love to have gone, but unfortunately I'm working, so I can't make it. But it's going to be a great night. I think Lewis is there. It's going to be a look back at the T20 winning campaign. So you're going to hear from all the players that were involved. The only downside, I think, is Pete Trigo's emceeing, so you'd have to put up with Treves. Rumour is that there's a raffle for a ride in his new Ferrari and all that sort of thing. But all the usual stuff's going to be going on there. So do give that do get to that if you can. Details are on the website lg24.co.uk, and there's also details of all the other golf days and cricket matches. We've got another game down at South Devon this year, which I'm just starting to get to grips with now, getting that organised. Completely lost my train of thought there, talking about Lewis. Yeah, Utilita Bowl. I mean, how do we presume that Alfie's going to come back in for Josh Shaw. Actually, in fact, Josh Shaw, we'll just have a quick couple of minutes on Josh Shaw. I thought he bowled pretty tidy first innings.
One very
Just
good
for
second
the
innings.
Yeah, I think that's what you're going to get from him. If it's there, he'll nibble it about a bit, put the ball in the right areas. But I think on a flat one, I think that's where you're probably going to. I don't think he's kind of got much to offer you there.
He
But
bowled both sides. He just wasn't grooved at all.
yeah,
You go back to the way Pennington and Stone bowled for Notts, and on the first day of the season, that's what we should be aspiring to. Just ball after ball after ball in the right areas, and he doesn't seem capable of doing that.
Jake Ball did though first innings. I thought he
was
bowled
impressed
very
with Jake
tidy.
Ball. Yeah, that's the best I've seen him bowl for Somerset.
Yep, likewise. But I say that they're probably the two that are going to make way if Lewis and Alfie come back in. I mean, batting at utility bowl, then obviously TKC and Goldsworthy was also subbed out with a hamstring injury. Actually, I feel like we've done Lewis Goldsworthy a little bit of a disservice here because
He batted really well.
He did bat really, really
he looked
well.
So solid,
Yeah.
And perfect
one of those
for
innings.
Craig Overton as well. And
yeah.
It's really, really bad luck on him as well because he had the chance of a good run in the side. And now I guess Jason told me it's quite a bad tear in his hamstring. So I doubt we'll see him now until the 2 games at the end of June possibly, which is, it's really tough on him because he batted well against Notts, I thought as well. And he looked really, really good, solid, very tight defensive technique at a time when, batting was difficult on that first day.
Yeah.
It really was.
I mean, it was one of those, he didn't look like he was going to get out till he got out.
Yeah, exactly.
Good. Yeah, just hope that it's not as the other day. It didn't sound all that fantastic. So I hope, touch wood, it's he can be back because I get also have an impact on the T20. If he's not back in time for the 22nd of May. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, definitely. Fingers crossed, you Golders. Right. So how we fit in all these batters into the top 6 for utility bowl on Friday then?
With Vaughan and Thomas. I think they will, and then Lammonby, Rue, Abel, Smeed, Gregory, Overton, Pretorius,
Ogborn and Leach.
Leach and Ogborn.
I think I would at the utility bowl. I think Smeed at 6 seems to make sense to me. Carl Abbott nipping that ball back.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think I would. I think I might go for Vaughan to take that on and let Smeed build on what he did at 6.
Yeah, but Smeed's the blocker now and Vaughan's the hitter. So,
well, I hope Archie Vaughan plays with the same sort of freedom that he did at Chelmsford, because it was a revelation. I've never seen him, certainly in red ball cricket, play as fluently as he did then, and it was just a joy to behold. He looked a class above the way he's looked to me.
He wasn't slogging, was he? That's the thing. He was playing
I mean, these were proper shots.
Cricket shots. Yeah.
Using his feet well, he was in the right position to play whatever shot that he was. He hardly put a foot wrong. I think he played and missed once in the first over that he faced from Sam Cooke. It was not bad on his home pitch. And he had a look in that first over, and then he decided he was going to take on Simon Harbour. He did it brilliantly, using his feet. It was terrific stuff. I think that if that's the Archie Vaughan of the future, I think he looked. I mean, I don't want to get ahead of. We mustn't get ahead of ourselves, but he looked really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, I thought a couple of times watching him bat, he's not. What's the word I'm looking for? He's not had a kind of a presence or an imposition at the crease, a bit like you talked about Will Smeed having. He's kind of gone out there, not necessarily without confidence, but maybe not sort of, he's been a bit sort of shoulders down at that. Maybe sort of needs to be head up, shoulders back, kind of owning that space. And he really did look like he just looked $1 million. I mean, what was it? 15 minutes, 5.4 overs to get rid of what was a potentially pretty tricky, nervy run chase. I mean, I can't believe how quickly they knocked them off, to be honest. Anyway, excellent stuff. Can we have a quick discussion about this new injury replacement trial then? It's not without its critics. It's not without potential accusations of abuse, not mentioning any names, Yorkshire. What are your thoughts on it? I'll start with mine to give you a bit of a chance to think. I wouldn't have it. I would just say that you can have one sub in a championship game, but you have to use it before the third inning starts. So it can be tactical, it can be injury. No,
I hate tactical subs in cricket. I hate it in the IPL that they have this 12th player.
No, but in the IPL it's different because it's like you're batting and then you're bowling. If you do it, you've got to do it before halfway. Yeah. So if you get rid of a bowler, you've got to bowl with 3 bowlers, or if you get rid of a batter, you lose a batter for an inning.
I'm not.
I think if you're ahead in the game,
I think you're a minority of one.
Use it. Well, that's because you've not let me explain, Gibbo.
I don't like the idea of tactical subs.
It doesn't have to be tactical. You could use, if you have an injury, you can use it for that as well.
No,
but I think it gives an opportunity to you to bring in a young player for 1 innings. It enables you to strengthen your side to make the quality of cricket better.
Like going to practice.
It'll let you get more spinners into the game as
get
well.
12 people playing and retired out, and this is proper serious cricket.
I think there'll be so many.
What have I said?
As well.
You had to make it between the second and the third innings.
I don't.
Yeah. No.
Sorry, Shet.
Cricket has 11 players.
Thankfully, I've got 3 people who agree with me, and I'm going to tactically replace the 3 of you and bring them in. So, cheers, guys. I was going to try and do that this week. I was going to try and get Peter Wanless, Steve Tancock, and Harry Everett all lined up, and then just at halfway, just kind of gradually injury replace everyone through the podcast. But I'm on holiday and I couldn't bother to organise that.
There's an art to team section in cricket. It's one of the beauties of cricket. You get 11 players, and that's that. Yeah. And I think that the thing is, I think people thought like Chris Woakes style injury against India last year. That's very obvious. Yes, he clearly cannot play cricket properly. That should really, in an ideal world, have a substitution. That's the kind of thing that I think maybe people were envisaging subs to be used for. Maybe not quite as extreme as the Chris Woakes one, but towards that end of things. But instead, we've had all these we've had 2 illnesses, then it's sort of thumb injuries, finger injuries. They're ones which, would they have played, it's difficult, isn't it? Because Sean Dixon at the Oval last year, he did something he broke a finger, didn't he? And he did come back in and bat for a bit, but was clearly in pain. So is that one where there should be a sub? Perhaps.
Yeah.
I think there's just been more of these little injuries than people thought. Maybe we just need to give it a few rounds and wait for things to settle down a bit, because I can't imagine there were 7 subs in the round just gone. Just, you wouldn't expect 7 separate niggles. That they were mostly niggles. That's the thing. None of them were very dramatic injuries. There was a concussion as well.
Tom Cadmore's thumb is, about the size of his forearm.
So I've had a brief look at the rules when they were established. If it's an injury, both teams,
physios,
doctors or head of site physios have to agree. Is that not putting an undue amount of pressure on the opposition's physio? And would there potentially be some sort of legal ramification if I say that, sorry, I don't think you're injured enough, carry on playing, and then that player, through the fact, carries on playing and they suffer a career-ending injury or something like that? I don't know.
I think it's a good point. I think that there is going to be erring on the side of player welfare and player safety, and not incorrectly, but I think that you will get. That I think everyone's after a bar, aren't they? What's the bar of this? And I think that I think we do need to see more rounds. It's early April, it's cold. players are going to get hammies and finger injuries probably more than now than they might do when their hands have hardened up and the weather's better in June and July. But equally, you don't want to see a situation. I think the Sean Dixon's quite a good example at the Oval last year, where Somerset only had 9 wickets in the second innings. Is that an unfair advantage? I think those are the sorts of questions that we need to ask ourselves. Are we comfortable with a player if he breaks a finger? Is that okay? Right, that's your fault. You can't you've retired out that innings and can't bat in the second innings, or do we want to see that innings continued in like a football style substitution? That's ultimately, I think, what we as a game need to ask ourselves is, if someone breaks a finger, what do we want as a game?
I don't think anybody wants to see. I mean, you look at Chris Wokes is the great example. If he says I'm going out to bat because I want to win a Test match for my country, when he's in a situation where really a lot of damage could have been done if he'd been hit facing while batting, I don't think anybody's really going to say to him, "No, you're not going out to bat."
But that is where you could get that. Those rules could be tweaked to actually have that independent physio thing to say, actually, no, Chris, you can't bat. We've run a not just a concussion test on you. We've run a fit and proper, and you can't bat, Chris. So would we as a game rather England have had 9 wickets? I think they lost the game anyway. If I remember right. But would we rather as a game that Chris Wokes not be allowed to bat, or would we rather have a game with Chris Wokes being able to have someone else come in to bat for him? I think that's I don't think there's any question of whether players shouldn't be able to hurt themselves and continue. And Chris Wokes is probably a good extreme example of that. But we don't want to see players batting with broken thumbs and things like that and making things worse and running on hamstring injuries. But we either need to know, are people happy to accept that if they get that there as a sub, or should there just be okay, sorry, bad luck, you only have 9 wickets now approach?
But the Lewis Goldsworthy one is interesting because he did his hamstring whilst he was batting, and he carried on batting with a runner coming in on the following morning, and then subsequently he was injury replaced. Now, presumably, the only explanation for that is that he aggravated the hamstring injury, and that led to the injury replacement for him. But if you're injured and then you carry on batting, I would say that rather disbars the team from having an injury replacement, because he scored runs when he was injured, and then his replacement comes in and scores runs as well. Scores runs with a runner. The things they need to look at. Yeah. The other thing they need to look at is how long, whether it's days before you can play again, or whether it's games before you can play again. I think it really needs to be games rather than
Yorkshire
days.
Have got a bye next week, so
exactly.
They could have had 11 injury subs if they wanted to, and not been materially affected at all. I think the 2 key things that I'm sort of keeping at the forefront of my mind when looking at all of this is, 1, this is a trial. If you think back to when they first brought in DRS, that was a complete mess. But over the years, the process has been refined and refined and refined until it's more or less as good as it can be. So remember, it's a trial. It's going to change. And 2, it is well intentioned. This is, as you said, Ben, it's got player welfare at the forefront of its objectives, and that can only be a good thing. So I think over the years, you'll see little tweaks, as Gibbo said, with that little example with Golders, whether you've got to go straight off the pitch to be qualified for an injury replacement or not. Anyway, it's been 51 minutes, and I feel that we've been incredibly disrespectful to the fantastic knock that Sophie Love played for Somerset Women on Saturday against Yorkshire in their first game of the Metro Bank One Day Cup. Erin Osborne's first game in charge as well. Been a lot said about the impact of that she's had with the women's side and how she wants them to play. Wow, what we're 120 for 8, chasing 180. I only sort of caught the last bits of it on my phone. I'm sort of paying a bit more attention to the men's game and sat on a coach from the airport. But Ben, you were there all day. Talk us through it. I mean, is it 4 wickets for Griff first up, bowled Yorkshire out for 180 odd, and then we were in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, it was a strange game, really. It was a game full of error, and the sort of Yorkshire, Somerset bowled well, don't get me wrong, but some of the shots from Yorkshire, lots of sort of caught mid-offs, and Yorkshire's innings was very error stricken. Shout out to Lola Harris, who came in and bowled leg spin on debut, and it was cold and windy, and you wouldn't have thought making your debut as a 18-year-old leg spinner it'd be probably one of the worst conditions that you'd ever want to face. But she bowled brilliantly. So shout out
She
to
batted
Lola
pretty
Harris.
well as well, from what I saw.
Yeah,
she kept her head. She
absolutely.
just needed to stick around with Luffy, and she did that. She picked up the ones when she needed to, but she didn't ever kind of look like she was cat in headlights.
And you thought when Yorkshire got 170, you thought, good pitch at Taunton with a short boundary towards the Somerset stand. You thought that it was going to be a pretty, with the quality, Danny Gibson, Heather Knight, and Soph and the like, Bex Odgers, you thought that it was going to be a pretty comfortable performance, given the fact they didn't really have to chase it. But yeah, Somerset's batting was a little bit error stricken in it as well, and with wickets continued to fall under no real run rate pressure, and it got to a stage where they looked out of it, really. I mean, again, shout out to Lola with her batting, and Soph played a phenomenal innings, really. Fantastic leadership. She took control of the situation. It was a really experienced knock. She knew that there would be runs on offer, and she got dropped. She got quite badly dropped at short third, but to get over the line there,
and she got quite badly dropped off the last ball of the game as well, as it turned out. But I guess that's big moment. You got to take the big moments, and if you don't take the big moments, you don't deserve to win games.
But yeah, it was a good win. I'm sure it was one of those wins that they'll celebrate. The next day, the coach would be in the office and saying, right, okay, there's a few things we need to work on here ahead of the next game. But they had that fantastic win at the first game last season. So, yeah, I hope they can kick on, travel up to Southport on Saturday to play on Sunday against Lancashire, who looks strong. So that'll be another big test. But, a great win. Great knock.
I mean, you said it you sort of echoed the win at Beckenham. I mean, the big difference for me that it was the captain, the homegrown player, the Somerset through and through, Sophie Luff that saw them home with the match-winning innings, rather than Amanda J. Wellington, the overseas signing. I think it was massive for this new leadership group as well, because there's been a lot of not necessarily hype's probably the wrong word, but Erin Osborne's come in. She's talked about how she wants the side to play sort of a more sort of mature brand of cricket, owning the game, taking responsibility, being the one to see your side home. And then if that hadn't happened first game, I think it would have had a massive effect. But the fact that the skipper's gone out, took the game by the scruff of the neck. You mentioned sort of it being dropped. I think you look back to, I always think of Ben Stokes when you look at these innings, where he just gets the game. It's the Cruz Campo. It's good stuff. Gets the game by the scruff of the neck and just drags the team to victory. You look at Ben Stokes' World Cup final. He was bad mistake by Trent Bolt on the boundary, dropped him and it went for 6. A little bit of luck with the ricochet that went for 4. I just think sometimes when you go out there, you kind of create that aura that I'm winning the game, and the opposition just kind of sort of noticed that and sort of, and I think Luffy did that on Saturday. I just think she was, taking this new method of playing that the leadership group had come up with on board, and was just that, right, we aren't losing this game. And then you mentioned she's got a couple of bits of luck, but yeah, absolutely massive that they won that game. Absolutely made up for Luffy that she was able to see the team home as well.
Should just mention as well, it's only 3 teams that go through from 9 in the Women's One Day Cup this year. Last year it was 4 that go through from 8 with 2 semis. This year it's winner goes straight to the final, then second and third playoffs. So you've got to be not perfect, but you can't afford too many losses to go through this year. So it was important to beat Yorkshire, who are, they have just come up from Tier 2. They are not that strong. So it was very, very important that we got over the line against them, to be honest. And this, I think, is, as we saw last year, 50 over cricket is our stronger format. So we did it. By hook or by crook, we did it. So hopefully we can build on it and just, the main thing is we got over the line, and that's what we need to remember, even though it was a flawed performance. Hopefully we can learn from it and go again against Lancashire, which will be a tough test because obviously they're the holders. So
yeah, absolutely. Best of luck to Luffy and the girls for the rest of the season. Then, as indeed, best of luck to Lewis and the boys as they travel up to Utility Bowl on Friday. Do we have any other business, chaps? I'm just reading Steve's email. He's got a couple of questions I think we've all pretty much covered. Anything on Twitter from our listeners? Do bear with. Andy Cleve mentioned about the injury substitutes. Simon Hancock is assuming that Smead and Vaughan replace TKC in Goldsworthy. Who opens? I mean, you could open with Smead and Vaughan and drop Josh Thomas down to 6. Probably not going to happen. Rob Reed.
That'd be a new opening partnership there, so that'd be fun.
It would be, yes. I wish I'd never done this stupid joke about the T-shirt now. Because I could be doing I could be in the middle of the most important bit of work. I could be doing the wages or whatever at work and new opening partnership. Right, new T-shirt.
No.
I'm never going to get it made either because it will be out of date within a week probably. Rob Reed wants to give a shout out to B. Willis, who's doing very well with bat and ball for England under-19s out in Australia. And Peter Wanless, our esteemed president, is finishing us off today with echoes of 2019. Somerset County Cricket Club top after 2 games. How do we stop Kyle Abbott taking 17 for 86? Perhaps I should make him my fantasy cricket captain. Please do that, Peter. If you're that certain that you're going to put the kibosh on Big Kyle, I'm summing up Friday as probably our batting and their bowling being the 2 strongest elements of the game.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if Sonny Baker plays. He's not had a great record against us in a couple of times. He
hasn't played against us in first class, though, has he?
No, not in first class. No. He'll be very, very desperate, I'm sure, to make his mark. So
he's played 2. He has played 2 in a row now, hasn't he? So I just wonder if they'll be looking to give him a break.
He does play. It'd be good to see how he's getting on.
Last year, we had Hampshire in Game 3, and Sonny had played the first 2 matches of the season, and then got rested against us at the request of the ECB, because of course he's on one of those pace bowling development contracts. So the exact same thing could happen this year.
Yeah, that's quite right.
It could well indeed. Anybody know how the Gloucesters are doing?
Oh, come on, we're all West Countrymen.
Are they on 0 points?
They are in danger of getting relegated now. They're in serious danger of having Division 3 created just for them.
They are 0.
As you say, Gibbo, you shouldn't enjoy too much their current woes, but it's difficult to see how they win a game. They've just got no bowlers, haven't they? They've all left.
Sad.
Yeah, no points out of 2 games. Very, very sad indeed. But Somerset sitting pretty at the top of Division 1. Let's hope it stays that way. Until the end of September, which would be very nice. Gents, it's been a pleasure as always. I'm off to the mini disco to get my choo choo wah 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 and my chugga chugga batcha batcha chugga chugga via via on. You not heard that? Well,
enjoy.
Have a good time.
Will do. Cheers, guys. See you all next week.
Yeah.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Bye bye.